On April 13, 1919, a garden in Amritsar, India, was about to become a tomb. Thousands of unarmed men, women, and children had gathered peacefully. Some were there for a festival, others for a protest. They were trapped. On the orders of a British general, soldiers blocked the only real exit and opened fire, turning the festive air into a storm of bullets and screams. This wasn't just a tragedy. It was a calculated act of terror, an afternoon of horror designed to crush India's rising spirit of freedom. But from the blood-soaked soil of the Jallianwala Bog, a legend would rise. A young orphan who saw the slaughter firsthand took a silent, solemn vow of revenge. This is the story of a 21-year hunt for justice. It's the story of how one man's relentless quest to avenge a massacre helped fuel the movement that would ultimately bring the mighty British Empire to its knees. So how does a peaceful gathering turn into a bloodbath? To get it, you have to understand the pressure cooker that was India in 1919. The country had just been through the hell of the First World War. Hundreds of thousands of Indian soldiers had fought and died for the British Empire. In return, a whole generation of Indians hoped for a new era, one with more freedom and the right to govern themselves. Those hopes were about to be torched. Instead of rewarding India's sacrifice, the British government clamped down hard. They passed the infamous Rowlatt Acts in 1919. These weren't just laws. They were shackles. The acts gave colonial authorities terrifying power. Anyone even suspected of revolutionary activity could be arrested without a warrant and jailed for 2 years without a trial. It was a legal sledgehammer to silence any and all dissent. Naturally, this sparked outrage. Protests erupted across the country, but the anger was raw in the province of Punjab. Punjab had sent more soldiers to the war than any other region, and the sense of betrayal there was personal. The British response, even more force. In the city of Amritsar, they arrested and exiled two beloved local leaders, Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal, for no legitimate reason. That was the final spark. On April 13, 1919, the day of Massacre, a vibrant Sikh harvest festival, a huge crowd decided to gather. Some estimates place the numbers between 10,000 and 20,000 people. Some came to the Jallianwala Bog to celebrate, others to peacefully protest the arrests and the tyrannical laws. They were just ordinary people, families with kids, students, grandparents, totally unaware they were marching straight into a death trap set by an empire terrified of losing control. The man who sprung that trap was Brigadier General Reginald Dwyer. He was convinced a massive rebellion was about to break out, so he'd banned all public gatherings. But this order was barely announced, meaning most people heading into the garden had no clue they were breaking any rule. Jallianwala Bog wasn't a park like we think of one today. It was a large, sunken piece of ground, walled in on all sides by buildings. It had a few very narrow alleyways to get in and out, but only one main entrance that a crowd could actually use. Dwyer marched his Gurkha and Baluchi riflemen right to that entrance, sealing it off. He even brought 2 armored cars, but they were too wide to fit down the lane. He gave no warning, no order to disperse. Later, during the official inquiry, Dwyer would say with chilling honesty, "I think it quite possible that I could have dispersed the crowd without firing. But they would have come back again and laughed, and I would have made what I consider a fool of myself." So, he gave the order. The soldiers raised their rifles and fired directly into the densest parts of the crowd. For 10 to 15 agonizing minutes, the shooting was relentless. Sheer panic erupted. People screamed and stampeded, trampling one another in a desperate scramble to escape the bullets. The high walls meant there was nowhere to run. Many people jumped into a deep well in the middle of the garden, hoping to escape the gunfire, only to be crushed or drowned by the bodies that piled in on top of them. At least 120 bodies were later pulled from that well alone. The soldiers fired 1,650 rounds. They stopped only when they were about to run out of ammunition. When the silence finally fell, it was the silence of a graveyard. The ground was littered with bodies. Dwyer and his troops simply marched away, leaving the dead and dying where they fell. The official British count claimed 379 people were killed and about 1,200 wounded. Indian sources, however, put the death toll at over 1,000, with many, many more injured. The massacre itself was just the start of the horror. In the days that followed, Punjab was put under brutal martial law. Public floggings were common. Dwyer enforced a humiliating crawling order, forcing Indians to crawl on their hands and knees down a street where a British missionary had been attacked. This wasn't about keeping order, it was about degradation. The reaction back in Britain was, frankly, disgusting. While figures like Winston Churchill condemned Dwyer in Parliament, many others hailed him as a hero. A newspaper, the Morning Post, raised a huge fund in his honor, the equivalent of millions today. And he was given a sword inscribed with the motto, "Saviour of the Punjab." And here's the real kicker. Dyer's actions were fully backed by his boss, Sir Michael O'Dwyer, the Lieutenant Governor of Punjab. O'Dwyer was the man behind the repressive policies in the province, and he believed Dwyer had done the right thing to create a moral effect. For the people of India, this stamp of approval from the top was the final proof. There was no justice to be found under British rule. The massacre shattered any lingering faith in British fairness, and became the single biggest catalyst for India's independence movement. A horrified Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel laureate, gave back his knighthood in protest. It was this event that pushed a reluctant Mahatma Gandhi to launch his first great non-cooperation movement, uniting the country against the empire like never before. Amid the chaos of that day was a young orphan named Udham Singh. He'd been serving water to the crowd when the shooting started. He survived, but what he saw that day would define the rest of his life. Legend says he scooped up a handful of blood-soaked earth from the garden and swore an oath of revenge against the men responsible. This wasn't just a promise made in a moment of rage. It became his life's mission. Udham Singh threw himself into the cause of Indian freedom, joining revolutionary groups and traveling the globe to push his mission forward. His journey took him across continents to Africa, the United States, and finally to London, the very heart of the empire he swore to defy. For 21 long years, he carried that vow with him, keeping the memory of the massacre burning inside. He was patient, methodical, unstoppable. He worked odd jobs, used aliases, and quietly made a life for himself in a new country, all while waiting for the perfect moment to fulfill the promise he made as a boy in a garden of death. His target wasn't General Dwyer, who had died from a stroke in 1927. His target was the man who had enabled it all, the man he considered the true architect of the slaughter, Sir Michael O'Dwyer. This story is an incredible reminder of how one event can change the course of history, and how one person's determination can echo for generations. If you're finding this story as compelling as we do, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into these pivotal moments. It really helps support the channel. That moment finally came on March 13, 1940. Sir Michael O'Dwyer was speaking at a meeting at Caxton Hall in London. In the audience sat a quiet, unassuming man from India. It was Udham Singh. He had waited more than 2 decades for this. As the meeting ended, Udham Singh calmly walked toward the stage, pulled out a concealed revolver, and fired, shooting Dwyer dead. He didn't even try to run. When the police rushed in, he surrendered on the spot, reportedly saying, "I did it because I had a grudge against him. He deserved it." His trial was a media sensation, but the British authorities were terrified of what he might say. They ordered the press not to publish his statement from the dock, but his voice couldn't be silenced. Facing the judge, he delivered a fiery speech against the empire. "I do not care about sentence of death," he declared. "It means nothing at all. I am dying for a purpose. I am proud to die, to have to free my native land, and I hope that when I am gone, in my place will come thousands of my countrymen to drive you dirty dogs out." He made it clear his fight wasn't with the people, but the system. "I have nothing against the English people at all. I am against the imperialist government." Despite the judge's attempts to shut him up, his message was clear. He wasn't a criminal, he was a revolutionary. Udham Singh was found guilty and was hanged on July 31, 1940. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre was an act of state terror intended to break the will of the Indian people. Instead, it forged a generation of revolutionaries. It laid bare the brutal reality of colonial rule and proved to be a point of no return for the British Empire in India. Udham Singh's assassination of Michael Dwyer was far more than simple revenge. It was a symbolic blow struck at the very heart of the empire. His 21-year quest sent a powerful message around the world. The crimes of imperialism will not be forgotten, and its agents will be held to account. He became a martyr and a folk hero, his story a potent legend in India's long struggle for freedom. Today, Jallianwala Bagh is a national memorial, a solemn place that reminds us of the price of freedom. And while the British government has expressed deep regret for the massacre, it has never offered a formal, official apology. A point of pain that lingers to this day. The story of the massacre, and of the assassin it created, shows us that you can kill people, but you can't kill an idea. And the idea of a free India, watered by the blood of martyrs, was an idea whose time had finally come. What are your thoughts on Udham Singh's actions? Was it justice, or just another part of a cycle of violence? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more hidden stories from history that shaped our world.